This video is an overview of the Layout Designer in Easy Composites version 2.0. This is not an in-depth tutorial. This is just a basic introduction to explain what the Layout Designer is for and just give you a basic overview of the user interface. I've got a lot of other tutorials that go more in depth for each topic, so make sure to watch the whole series of videos for this. Now, when you first open, you may have scroll bars, but if you do, as long as you have enough room on your window, you can drag the bottom of this larger so that way it gets rid of the scroll bars. If your window is smaller, you'll just have to deal with the scroll bars. So first thing is, I want to explain what the Layout Designer is meant to create. So if you have not yet watched it, make sure to watch the Anatomy of a Template video where I discuss this in more detail. But basically the template consists of a graphics file along with multiple layout files, and it will merge those together when it builds the composite, and it will use the layout file based on the number of images in the folder and merge it together with the graphics file. So these files here are the layout files, and this is what the Layout Designer is creating. The Layout Designer does not do anything at all with the graphics file. So for the graphics file, that's something that's done all manually in Photoshop. So the Layout Designer is just meant to create these layouts, and the layouts here are the things that are, or the files that are the most difficult to make anyway. The graphics file is much simpler. Creating all these layouts was what was very time consuming in version 1 of Easy Composites. So when you create a layout, it's not going to build it into an existing document. It's going to create a new document every time it builds. So you don't need to create a new document or resize any of that. All of that is set up in the settings here. So you've basically got, I guess, 3 sections here. The top is all of the parameters and settings for how it's going to design the layout. So for the composite width and height, and then the aspect ratio of your images, the spacing and margins and text and border colors, corners for the images, all of that is defined in this top section here. I do have individual videos to go over each one of these. The next section is where you tell it how many images you're going to put into that layout. You can create up to 15 rows, and you can have up to 100 in a row, but can't think of a situation where you'd want 100 in a row, but I allowed it to build up to 100 in a row. So let's say we're doing 4 rows of 8 here. You would just set up 4 rows, 8 in each row. And the last section is the calculations section. This is where it's going to give you numbers to represent how it's going to build. So as you're changing any of the settings or changing the number of images per row, you can see these calculations update, so you can kind of get a visualization in your mind for the spacing and the image size. So you can kind of, once you get to understand how these values work, you can kind of get a mental picture of what it's going to do to a certain extent. And then once you're ready, you can create the layout. However, there's another button called Create Layout Preview, which is meant to give you a very quick visual representation of the layout. So if I click this here, in just a couple seconds, it doesn't actually build the layout. It just puts in a solid color layer, and then it fills rectangles with gray. And so you can just see the spacing and how everything will lay out onto the design. And it created this document for us as well. Once you're happy with that, you don't have to do this Create Layouts Preview step first, but I recommend doing that. But once you're happy with how it looks, then you would just press Create Layout, and it's going to create the layout for you. So I'll time lapse this video so you don't have to watch all this, and then we'll discuss it. All right, we can see our finished layout here. And just one more thing I'll point out too is that you don't need to always use the same number per row. You can put anything you want in there. So for example, to do something like this, and then if we let's create that preview, it's always going to build everything on the left side. Actually, I think I'm going to put 8 in this bottom row. Okay, I'm going to now just build this, and then because I just want to show you that you can move images around after it builds. So let's just create one more layout here. All right, so now after we have the layout, all of the image slots are organized into folders by a row and then by each individual image slot. So we could go in and easily move images around as we need to create, for example, if we wanted to create an empty space in the middle here. And there you go. We just created a very quick layout with a space for graphics and text in the middle. And it just took a few clicks and then a few seconds to move images around. So make sure to watch all the other videos because there is a lot you can do with this. And you can create some pretty advanced layouts with it. I think this is really going to help out because it was a pretty big pain in version 1 for those of you who remember trying to move smart objects around and manually do that. That was pretty painful, but this should be much less painful. Thanks for watching.